What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers, and joining me to talk about some NCAA Week 11 action between the Kentucky Wildcats and the Alabama Crimson Tide. As always, Mr. Football, Vincent Turner. How you doing this evening, sir?
Hey, how you doing today, Logan? It's about college football this weekend, sir.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. We have a great SEC matchup here. Alabama and Kentucky. But before we get started, if you enjoy the episode here today, give us a like, a comment, a share, and of course, subscribe on our Facebook and YouTube channels so you don't miss a single bit of action we put out each and every single week. And if you enjoy podcast, well, you are in luck because we do have a podcast that goes up each and every single week, audio versions of our shows that you're watching right now. Well, Vincent, let's get right into it. Kentucky and Alabama. Let's talk about these Wildcats first and foremost. So Kentucky coming into this matchup with a 6-3 record, currently fourth in the SEC, and they have dropped 3 of their last 4 matchups. They got the win last week against Mississippi State, dominant 24-3 victory, but prior to that, they had fell to Tennessee, Missouri, and Georgia, all really good teams. So this is another tough matchup for this Kentucky Wildcat squad. Let's break down some of the big players who are going to be making an immediate impact this upcoming Saturday. Of course, when you look at Kentucky, obviously you look at their stacked backfield with quarterback Devin Leary closing it on 2,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, has been sacked 13 times, is the veteran. And in the running game, that's their bread and butter right there. Of course, Mr. Ray Davis getting closer and closer to 1,000 yards, not quite there yet. 148 carries for him, 903 yards. Still good for a 6.1 average. Absolutely one of the best running backs in the nation, not just the SEC. He's got 9 touchdowns on the year. Look at the receiving game. Guys like Tavion Robinson, Dane Key, Barry Brown. Also, Ray Davis can get it done in the receiving game as well. Robinson leading your squad right now, 462 yards, 3 touchdowns. They have a very diversified, a very spread out offense when in terms of their receivers. They can really much throw to a handful of guys, and they're going to get some good yardage and some good catches for them. When you flip it over to the defense for Kentucky, you're led by De'Eric Jackson, your linebacker, 58 tackles for the young man. Maxwell Harrison behind him with 54. In the sacks department, you have Deion Walker and Trevin Wallace. Both those gentlemen are tied for your team lead, 4.5 apiece. And right behind them is Mr. J.J. Weaver. He has 4. Kentucky can get to the quarterback. They have 23 sacks on the season. Also in the backfield, 8 interceptions and 21 passes defended. Of course, leading that is Maxwell Harrison, who I just mentioned. He's got 5 picks and 3 passes defended. So if Kentucky wants to win this game, Vincent, they've got to play, obviously, a very solid game. They can't give up a lot of points. They have to do exactly what they did at Mississippi State last week, limit the points. Also got to get some turnovers, and they have to get Ray Davis going. I say that because in the last 2 games, Vincent, he's ran for less than 100 yards. I see you got to give him the ball a lot more because Devin Leary, he's looked good. But if you really want to, I think, get this good win over Alabama, pull off the upset, it's got to be that duo back there with Leary and with Davis. That's my thoughts on Kentucky. What is yours, Mr. Turner?
Looking at Kentucky, there's a couple of stats I want to bring up here. They're 6-0 defensively when they allow under 100 yards rushing. Then they 6-1 when offensively they go over 75 yards rushing. You brought up an excellent point. To me, for Kentucky to stay in this football game, Ray Davis has to be a factor. They start running back. When he has a good game on the ground, Kentucky uses a very solid football team. As far as Devin Leary, he's been playing well lately. But remember this, at the start of the season, he was struggling throwing the football to transfer from North Carolina State. The bottom line here to me, for Kentucky to win this game, they got to control tempo, and they got to be able to run the football on the ground. That's simple to me.
Yep.
Very simple.
Yes, sir. All right. And let's flip it over to the Alabama Crimson Tide. Of course, we know that they are on a warpath right now. Currently 8-1 on the season, but they have rattled off 7 straight wins. Definitely have a ton of momentum. They beat in back-to-back weeks. LSU, they beat them 42-28. And, of course, they beat Tennessee back in late October 34-20. So they have just a lot of momentum right now, Vincent, of course, led by your QB, Jalen Milroe, who early in the year received some flack, got benched for a short amount of time as well. But it's nice to see that Alabama has figured out that this is their guy going forward. He's done well, 1,836 passing yards for him, 13 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. And you get to that at a 64% clip for him. Big thing, though, like I always mention with Alabama when we cover them, he's got sacked 32 times. You got to get that down if you want to win any bowl game, which, hey, they won 7 in a row. They're doing something right. Receiving game and the running game. Look at the running backs first and foremost. You got a nice duo there with Jace McClellan, 632, and Roy Dale Williams with 395. Both those guys combined for 7 touchdowns on the ground. And Jalen Milroe, he's got 9 rushing touchdowns. He can get known with his legs. He's closing in on 300 yards, scrambling around the pocket and dancing for some touchdowns. Receiving game, as we all know, their main guy, their top player is Mr. Jermaine Burton, 26 grabs for the young man. He's got 537 yards on the season. And he's got 5 touchdowns leading your team. Isaiah Bond behind him with 420 and 3 touchdowns. Some other guys helping out, like Amari Niblack. You got Kobe Prentice and C.J. Dupree, all putting in some good work for that Roll Tide offense. Flipping over to the defense, Caleb Downs is a tremendous player, Vincent. We know all he's about. Leading the team in tackles by a large margin, 76 for him. Deontay Lawson behind him with 52, and Jalen Key with 46. Who's some big guys on the defensive line in your linebacker position who's going to be getting to the quarterback? Of course, you look at Mr. Dallas Turner, 7 sacks for him. Chris Braswell behind him, 6.5 sacks. And Justin Eboja, he's got 4. All in all, Alabama, they're getting to the QB really nicely this season. 29 sacks as a team. And then we look in the backfield. 8 passes defended on your team from Terrion Arnold. And right behind him, Mr. Kool-Aid McKinstry, he's got 5. Terrion Arnold also helping lead your team in interceptions with 2. And as aforementioned earlier, Caleb Downs also picking up 2. They've got 8 INTs in that backfield. Vincent, Alabama has been looking really, really good here since that early season loss to Texas. They only lost that game by 10 points, but man, they have been really impressing me after that loss. They have been dominating teams left and right. What can they do against Kentucky this weekend to keep their hot streak?
I think when you look at Alabama, and thank God that they decided after the South Florida game that Jalen Milroe was going to be their guy. Me personally, I'm thinking on the level, what would have happened if they were to continue with Ty Simpson at the quarterback position? And you're looking overall, could they possibly right now, we'd be talking about Alabama, maybe a 6-5 football team, maybe an 8-4 football team, maybe not even the conversation of the SEC West. But one thing, when you have a talent like Jalen Milroe, and Nick Saban came to his senses and said, you know what, I'm going to go with this young man. Because really, when you look at it, the reason Jalen Milroe got benched was because of the Texas game.
Right.
Because they said he played so poorly. I think what they say, he made so many mental mistakes. But I tell you what, the reason Alabama is playing at a high level right now is because of that young man right there. And you look at it last week, big game, Saturday night, national television. What did the young man do? 155 yards rushing, 219 yards through the air. He's made a tremendous leap and improvement in the passing game, 4 touchdowns. And then look how that team has rallied around him. Now, Alabama defensively, they're going to give up some plays. When you look at it, you still got players on that side of the ball. Dallas Turner. A lot of people were upset over the hit, but that was a football hit. I'm sorry. Then you're looking at Malachi Moore, a guy that's going to go very high in the NFL draft. And then Terrion Arnold coming up with that key interception in the 4th quarter. This is a red-hot Alabama team, man. And you know what? They've already proven over the last month where they stand as a football team on the national level. Big win over Tennessee. Big win over LSU. Big win over Ole Miss. All of them ranked in the top 25 in the college playoff system. So to me, really, they don't have nothing to prove. They just got to keep the resume clear until they get to the SEC championship game. And it looks like they on the course to meet the University of Georgia. Overall, what more can you say? Jalen Milroe last Saturday night, Logan looked like the combination of Reggie Bush and Percy Harvin. Roll Tide.
Yes, sir. He looked great last week. We'll see if he can continue it this upcoming weekend versus the Wildcats. Final prediction time for me. I'm going to go with Alabama getting the win in this one. I think they're looking just so good right now. If it wasn't for that blemish to Texas early on the year, everyone will be talking about them a lot more. I think they're going to continue their hot streak. Give me Alabama 34 and give me Kentucky 21. Mr. Turner, your final prediction.
Hey, man, I'm rolling with Roll Tide, the legend of Joe Namath, Kenneth Stabler, Pat Tramble, Walter Lewis, Vince Sutton, all at the quarterback position right now. Then you look at the NFL, Jalen Hurts, Mr. Tua, Mac Jones. Right now, Jalen Merrill's got this team on his back. And Alabama, Logan, can you agree with me on this? They are the hottest team in college football right now. The Tide is not going to slow down. They're going to roll in Lexington, Kentucky this weekend. I'm looking at the Tide 34, Kentucky 10.
Yes, sir. I agree with you 100%. They are the hottest team in college football at the moment, and we're both in agreement. They're going to continue that hot streak at the expense of the Kentucky Wildcats. But we want to hear from you, though, our fans. Who is going to win this matchup in the SEC this weekend? Is it going to be the upset with Kentucky, or will Alabama continue their recent winning ways? We want to hear it and the final score in our comment section. As always, Mr. Football, Vincent Turner, it's a pleasure talking college football with you each and every single week. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Enjoy your weekend, everyone, and we'll talk to you again